When it is extremely dark, our eyes can play tricks on us, and then our imagination takes over, where any object around your room takes on unusual shapes. In the morning, perspective is restored, and you chastise yourself for letting your imagination run away with you. But what if one day or one night you see something shadowy that you just know was not your imagination? There is a name for this type of phenomena, and they're called shadow people. And for the people who have actually experienced them, found the experience extremely frightening. The following are terrifying accounts of people that claim to have witnessed shadow people. Rosemary Gillis. In October 2010, Rosemary was hiking in the Funstock National Park in New York. The park is a 22.4 square mile park located in Putnam and Dutchess counties, New York. As she was hiking, she found it extremely quiet, and there was nobody else around as she headed out to the Kingstone Chamber. The chamber site is one of several mysterious man-made structures in the area and is a local archaeological mystery where a mysterious lump of clay was found, possibly linked to ancient stone chambers, and is a historical and archaeological point of interest for people studying ancient sites. Nobody really knows who built them or why, and believe they were possibly made by Native Americans. But some people who have visited them have had paranormal experiences. As Rosemary entered the site, she began to sense something strange, like an unusual presence there, and a feeling that something was watching her or something unusual was about to happen. She nevertheless continued her walk, and she became aware of a dark shadow that appeared to be moving through the trees in front of her. She did not feel at all comfortable and felt there was something extremely sinister about it. The shadowy figure was tall and slim, and it looked like the outline of a human being. It was very dark, and its colour looked inky black with blurry edges, and its lower portion appeared to trail away. She could see no facial features or eyes, but she had no doubt that it was observing her, but she could feel it, which terrified her. She tried to tell herself that it was her mind playing tricks on her, or that someone or something was stalking her through the sight. It was definitely not an apparition, and she simply knew that she had encountered something that was not of this world, and she did not wait around to find out. She compared it to a scary movie where bad things are happening to people and a voice screams, "Get out, it's time to go." What had Rosemary Gillis seen? And was she in real danger from the shadowy figure? And was it something sinister? But Rosemary Gillis' terrifying experience is not unique, and over the years, hundreds of people have reported encounters with dark humanoid transparent creatures, which are called shadow people. Rosemary came to the conclusion that the shadow people came from other dimensions or parallel dimensions that exist right here on Earth. They exist in time and space where we do not normally see them except under the right circumstances, or maybe under vulnerable circumstances, such as where Rosemary was, by herself and in the middle of nowhere. If they do come from a parallel dimension, how are they to cross over into our dimension, and what do they want other than to scare us, or are shadow people simply shadows? Rosemary Gillis is not convinced that it was not a trick of her imagination, and says there is no doubt that it was a black shape moving through the trees. So who exactly are shadow people, and where do they come from? Robert Piepersugar. Robert bought a house in Kansas City, Texas. The house had a passageway between the garage and the rest of the house, and a kitchen with a door that led to the passageway. One afternoon when Robert was washing the dishes, staring out the window, he saw a shadow move from the back of the house. He thought it was one of his friends coming to visit. He turned to the door and saw the shadow enter the garage. He opened the door and followed. No one was there. A few days later, he was in the bedroom on the computer and saw a shadow walking from window to window. Again he thought a friend was coming to visit. This time there was a distinctive knock on the windows, and the shadow walked to the next window and around to the house to another window in front of the house towards his front door. He then went to the front door and opened it, but there was nobody there. Each of these occurrences happened in the middle of the day, in full daylight. He has also seen a figure standing outside his bedroom door, just standing there watching him. This all happened a few weeks after he was awoken one night, unable to move and unable to breathe. He was paralysed for what seemed like an eternity, probably 10 to 15 seconds. He was wide awake during this terrifying encounter and was completely conscious. He decided to write down all of these strange occurrences. He then discussed his experiences with some of his friends who had spent the night, who told him of things that occurred to them during the time they stayed at his house. After listening to their stories, it appears that they all followed the same pattern. The shadows would walk around outside and tap on the windows. They also reported the shadowy figure standing in the doorway. Lisa Fallor. Lisa lived in a house on Telhurst Road, South Euclid, Ohio, that had been built in the early years after World War I. For some reason, nobody lived in the house very long, and during the years between 1967 and 75, Lisa discovered why. The house had had numerous owners and changed hands often, and said that it always felt creepy to her. Repairs were endless, especially the roof, which always leaked. It was impossible to keep the place warm in winter, and Ohio winters are nasty. The kitchen was the only warm place in the whole house. Lisa's bedroom was the coldest room in the house, so she usually did her schoolwork in the kitchen. But from the kitchen, she could see unwelcome visitors, who were black humanoid shapes. She would constantly see shadow people walking around in the dining room while she was sitting at the kitchen table. They were normal-sized and silent, and usually out of the corner of her eye, but when she looked at them straight on, they would just quietly move on. She was certain it was no trick of the eye. When she turned on the dining room light, the brightness drove the shadows from the room. They annoyed her, but it was hard to know what to do about them, she said. When she spoke to her mother about the shadow people, she would calmly say, "Well, maybe the place is haunted. If they don't hurt you, don't worry about them too much." When Lisa was 18, she moved from the house and never lived there again. She would occasionally stay with her parents on short visits and would always see the shadow people that walked in the dining room. She never heard a sound from the shadow people and never felt particularly threatened, but she always felt uneasy and was not happy they were there. Because of the shadow people, she never liked the house and always felt creeped out. It seems that Lisa was the only person in the family to see them, and not her parents, which makes them even more mysterious. Could it be that she was psychic? Courtney. Courtney was about 11 when she went into an empty house. It was daytime, and the building was well lit. She looked into a few rooms and saw nothing out of the ordinary until she turned into a hallway. Standing at the other end of the hall was a shadow person that appeared to be looking at her. Although it had no eyes, the feeling was undeniable. The shadow person and her watched each other for some time. She could not believe what she was seeing and didn't think it was real, but then it started walking towards her slowly. She turned and ran and quickly looked over her shoulder, where it had travelled about 7 meters. In the split second she looked away, but when she had her eyes on it, it moved slowly. She got out of the house and looked back at it again, where it had stopped at the door, almost like it was unable to leave the house, where it turned and walked back inside.